Richard Kingswell with you tonight on the J-Files, and I would have been pretty disappointed if they hadn't have done that one live when I saw them. But they did. Tool, 46 and 2 from the Arnhem release. Right now on the Tool J-Files, it's time for Maynard James Keenan, the singer from Tool, to do his high five. 5 records have changed his life, so right now it's over to Maynard.
Let's dig out an album by Joni Mitchell called Hejira, featuring bass playing by Jaco Pastorius. One song in particular is Black Crow on the album, although the whole album itself is worth listening to from beginning to end, as well as her entire catalog, actually. But this one in particular kind of strikes a nice note in me.
You just said before we heard that track that it strikes a note within you. Can you tell us a bit more about why it does mean so much to you?
No, not really. I think it's more important that people just kind of, they hear maybe the title of the song or hear the name of the album and go out and pick it up and just kind of experience it for themselves. I don't really go into too much detail, because trying to explain music, you shouldn't really have to explain it, really. You should just be able to hear it, and it either moves you or it doesn't.
Maynard James Keenan there from Tool, and the first selection in his high five, Joni Mitchell and Black Crow, taken from the Hejira release. We'll have more of his high five throughout tonight's J-Files on Triple J. Richard Kingswell with you tonight on the Tool J-Files. Let's hear another couple in Maynard's high five right now.
I'd like to see if we can dig out an album by the Swans. Actually, it's 2 albums because they came out simultaneously, called Holy Money and Greed. It's 2. They're kind of a joint release by the Swans. One of the songs in particular would be Coward.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Swans? We know them as being a band based in New York. Do you know much of the history of the band?
Michael Gira started doing stuff that I can dig up back in like 80, 81, 82. I think the first actual release was in 82 with the Swans, and he's gone through quite a lot of transforming over the years. The mid to late 80s were probably his most brutal period, and deconstructionist, I guess, very minimalist. So,
and it's sort of become a bit more mellow as the years have gone on.
Yeah, he's gotten more into, he's still kind of maintained his minimalist approach to music making, and really driving home and sitting on particular riffs. But for me, the most moving period that the Swans had was in the mid to late 80s. And in this particular case, the song Coward from the Holy Money album.
I'm a coward.
Swans there tonight on Triple J. Maynard from Tool is doing his high five tonight as part of the J-Files. You don't find the Swans' music too doomy or gloomy at any point?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I think the danger at most of delving into some areas, sometimes you can get a little bit so far into it you can't really find your way back out. I think maybe Michael's kind of fallen into that trap a little bit in some of his stuff, in his decadent approach, but in that he's gone that far out on a limb, he's certainly come up with some art that's been unsurpassed.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that, isn't it? When you're kind of delving deep within yourself, but then there's that line that you're dangerously close to of being just indulgent.
Right.
I mean, as an artist, how do you pull yourself back from that? How do you know when to not take that one step too far?
Well, I don't think you really concern yourself with that. You just go with your heart. If you go too far, then you've gone too far. But that's pretty much just the goal of any artist, I would think, would be to just follow his heart.
And then, of course, it's someone else's job to judge whether you've gone too far or not, and not yourself.
But then again, that's just somebody else's opinion, really, you know. I'm sure Michael's very happy with the work he's done, and he's fine with it. As far as where other people are or where I am when I hear it, some parts I take, some parts I don't. that he follows his own heart and his head, I can respect that, and I'll listen to anything that he ever does, just because I know that he's doing some searching and he's doing some personal work. So I'll consider anything that he's done decent work because he is following his heart.
Okay, what shall we hear next?
Let's ramble on to Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti album, most specifically the song Kashmir, which if you haven't heard it, I think you'll see why. And if you have, you know what I'm talking about. Don't really need to say much about it.
Fairly classic piece there from Led Zeppelin, Kashmir, from the Physical Graffiti double album, and another selection tonight on the J-Files on Triple J from Maynard from Tool. I'm not name-dropping here, but I actually did get a chance of interviewing Robert Plant in the last couple of years, and I asked him, was there any particular point in the career of Led Zeppelin where he felt completely overwhelmed by the sounds and the songs, and was there a song that he just thought he couldn't get at one point? He actually said Kashmir, so that he cried after recording the vocal on that.
Well, absolutely. That song definitely is more than the sum of the parts that recorded it. It certainly moved into a whole new area, I think.
It was all that sort of Eastern influence, wasn't it?
Yeah, that, and I mean, Led Zeppelin it's classic rock, and some of it still kind of holds up, mainly because it borrowed a lot of blues, and it's a heavier version of that, which is reminiscent of, you know, all that's intense and heavy and grind your hips and all that stuff. But that's why I think Kashmir is a song that just kind of popped out without them even realizing that it was going to pop out. That's why it's a powerful song.
The thing I like a lot about Led Zeppelin at a time when a lot of bands were doing extended jams and extended songs, they did it, but they did it with economy in mind. They didn't have any wasted parts within the tracks.
Right, they definitely arranged their songs. I mean, and like the Swans and like Joni Mitchell, Led Zeppelin are kind of a band that you have to really hear the whole picture. They're not necessarily something that you just kind of throw on while you're vacuuming the rug or having a party. They really are bands you really have to open up your heads and open up your hearts and really make an effort to listen to the whole picture. Otherwise, don't waste your money. You know, if you want pop hits, go listen to Green Day or, you know, Oasis or something.
In My Time of Dying, I reckon, is one of the big tracks from that album as well, so that'd be something I'd recommend for listeners too. Did you get into the Page and Plant stuff they did just in the last couple of years?
Are we allowed to swear on here?
Yeah, to a certain degree. Go for it.
I'll just say no, then. I didn't get into it.
Okay, fair enough. Maynard James Keenan there, the singer from Tool, doing a few more in his High Five. All right, so far tonight we've heard 3 songs in Maynard James Keenan's High Five: Led Zeppelin, Joni Mitchell and the Swans. It's time for number 4 and 5.
This would be King Crimson album with One More Red Nightmare from the Red album. And once again, this is an album band. You don't really just go and listen to this band singles or singular songs or in slices. You really had to have the full experience on this one as well. The Red album is right before they took a big break and kind of reformed later, and they came out with Discipline with Adrian Belew and that lineup. But this particular lineup to me was, and they really started realizing something. I don't know what it is, can't put your finger on it. Just buy the album Red and listen to it with headphones and put yourself in that expanded awareness, however you get there, and absorb it.
King Crimson there on Triple J. I got to interview Adam from Tool last year, and I think he said he was a huge Robert Fripp fan.
Absolutely.
Do you think the sound of that sort of extends into his playing a lot?
Well,
because Robert Fripp could be pretty intricate in his guitaring.
Yeah, yeah, in some ways, yeah. Adam's not really a technical player. He's particular, and he's very into the details of what he's doing. But as far as the technical aspects, he's certainly not, a scale master or anything like that. So he really is a person who's taking his ability and really concentrating on the sounds and how they fit in with the rest of the sounds. So he's relatively, maintaining a relative objective view, and I think that's how a lot of the King Crimson guys work as well. They're very much into listening to each other, even though they might have a basic structure that they're following. It's really about fitting themselves in with each other.
And feeding off who's standing next to you in the recording studio, rehearsal room, or on the live stage.
Exactly.
Okay. Can you just... What does it mean being in a band like Tool as well for you personally? You've talked a bit tonight about some of the music that means a lot to you. What does your own music mean to you?
I'm not really sure. In a few years, maybe I'll be able to look back and see, but right now we're right in the middle of it, and we're just kind of going with it. So it's hard to say.
Is it the most important thing in your life?
No.
That's good. I'm glad you said no, because if you had said yes, then I would start to question whether it should be. Do you think for a lot of artists that you love their work, do you think, it's hard for you to say, but do you think that music for them has been their lifelong passion and ambition as well?
I guess the best examples I can give of that would be somebody that I admire, like, say, David Bowie, who has completely put music aside and just gone and done other stuff. Just kind of ignored it for a while. Or not taking it so seriously that he can't experiment. I'm not really a big fan of the Tin Machine stuff, but I can completely respect that he did it. Just like I was saying about Michael Gira with the Swans, I can respect anything those particular artists do because they're following their hearts for the most part, and in a lot of cases, the ones that are the better musicians are the ones that don't get so absorbed in the music that it's the only thing in their life.
So if music isn't the most important thing in Maynard's life, what is, do you think?
None of your business.
Fair enough. Maynard James Keenan from Tool has been with us tonight on the J-Files. One more track in your high five. What's it going to be?
It's not really a single track. It's a whole album. It's Peter Gabriel's Passion album, which is the soundtrack to The Last Temptation of Christ. And there you go. Just buy it and listen to it. You'll understand. It's a pretty long album. It's 60 minutes, 65 minutes. And it flows one piece into the next. It's, I guess I could describe it kind of like a Pink Floyd album, but it's got much more Eastern influence to it, and it's a whole experience.
You're Pink Floyd, on the subject of Pink Floyd, are you a Pink Floyd fan as well?
Absolutely.
Them, King Crimson, Led Zeppelin, they all like to do long extended songs. Is that where that part of the Tool makeup came from for you?
Not necessarily. I grew up listening to Kiss, AC/DC and that kind of stuff, so they certainly were a big part of my life growing up, but I don't know. I just, when it comes to like films and television and stuff, I tend to like movies more than sitcoms, and I tend to read books more than poetry, and I just gravitate towards that kind of stuff, so.
Being absorbed in, the whole picture.
Right.
Okay, Maynard, thanks for your time. That was great with your high five. And here it is right now, your final pick, Peter Gabriel. And enjoy the rest of your stay in Australia.
Thank you.
Featuring alongside Peter Gabriel, the voice of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, as well as Yusin Ador, and that's actually the title track taken from the album Passion by Peter Gabriel, music for the film The Last Temptation of Christ, and that's the final selection in Maynard James Keenan's High Five. So it was a Peter Gabriel Passion album, King Crimson's Red album, Physical Graffiti by Led Zeppelin, the Swans album from 1986 called Holy Money, as well as Joni Mitchell way back in 1976 with the Hejira record.